Okay, so hey, this is Tanja Diamond talking to Barbara.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about what? Because you had questions about
Book publishing, self-book publishing. And
self
you just published an awesome book.
self book publishing. Okay, and I've got some answers for you since this right here is soon to be my third international #1 best-selling book.
Wow.
All self-published. So I think I didn't grab all of them, but I've got a yeah. There's #2 right there, and the #1's over on my bookshelf. So yes, what kind of questions do you have?
So I am just about complete with writing a book, and I've been talking with a
Awesome, by the way, congratulations.
yes, thank you. It's part of my healing process, and something that I have been, it's funny, it's just been in the back of my mind, and something that had always been, even when I was a kid, oh, you need to write a book. And it's like, yeah, whatever. But it just, it just became more and more feasible and obtainable. But now I'm kind of in the home stretch, and I've been talking with, because there's, I know I could go completely on my own self-publishing,
Yeah.
or it's all of these publishers that are really like hybrid self-publishers, like you pay them to do a bunch of stuff for you. And then, there's the whole traditional route where you beg and plead for a publisher to take you, and that's not even where I'm looking at. So
Okay.
it's like between the going completely on my own and working with the hybrid self-publisher, and there's so many of them, and they take so much royalties.
Mm-hmm.
And I found one that doesn't take a lot, but then I'm like, do I really need that? And it almost seemed like the biggest part that would be of benefit would be the distribution. And some parts of it not having to do myself, just from a logistic standpoint, but then it's also giving up control. And so I thought, I know someone who has written a bunch of books and has done this shit from beginning to end. Ooh, can I use that word on
Yeah.
recording?
Yeah.
And who's done it from beginning to end. Why don't I just ask and understand what your experience has been and what advice you have? And I think you are totally doing it on your own. I don't think you're doing with like one of the hybrid publishers. And
No.
just like, what's that been like?
So when I wrote my first book back in 2009, and I too had been told, write a book, write a book, write a book. And so I wrote my first book, 2009, and it was supposed to be part of a series of book projects called the ABCs of. And so somebody had said, I need you to write the ABCs of Tantra. And I'm like, okay, 5 to 800 words, 26 chapters, A through Z, go. And she said, and oh, by the way, I'm sorry, we're at the end of the project, you have 6 weeks. Like, all right. So I'd been wanting to write a book forever, but apparently having that kind of fire under my ass. So I wrote it. So when I got done writing it, and I said, I'm done, and I got it done in 10 days. I said, here it is. And she said, oh, well, you're the first one in. And I said, I thought you made me feel like I was the last one. So the deal there was that I was going to write, they were taking care of the cover and the formatting and the compilation of, so like all the covers would be similar, right? Because we're going to have a series, like the dummy series.
Right.
Right. And so I didn't have any input, wouldn't have any input on cover and stuff like that, just my content. So when they showed me the first cover, it looked like a kindergarten ABC. And I was like, shit, I don't like that. Do I really want my first book to look like that? And so I already had some issues with that. And then pretty well, the project fell apart. Because getting authors to compile things and stuff is like herding cats. And I know this because I've tried to do a book project with other people, and that one is the only one I haven't completed because I couldn't get anybody else to follow through. So that left me with this book I'd written, and there was the big wow, the Women of Wisdom, or this big conference coming up in Seattle. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great to have my books done by then? So I had taken a couple of years before that, I had taken with Dan Kennedy, I think, and a couple other authors, like how to write your book and how to get it published and whatever. So I understood the whole publisher, hybrid publishing, and self-publishing from that class. And used to be that you wanted to get picked up by a publishing house because they marketed it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anymore, that's not the case. Now, if you have a huge list, they'll want you. But basically, they take a lot of money. It takes an 18-month lead time to get your book out with all the stuff. They have license. If you read the contract, they get a lot of control. A lot of stuff changes. So I decided, no, that is not what I was going to do. So I said to my partner at the time, can we do this ourselves? And he's like, yeah. So we looked at a few like print on demand, because that's the other thing. I didn't want 100 or 2,000 books sitting in my garage.
Right.
Right? I didn't want the responsibility of now having to go peddle my books.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So we found a print on demand. Now today it's a lot easier. I mean, there's CreateSpace and InstaSpark, and I use Verbante, and so there's a lot of different avenues you can go, and I can hook you up with all that info. But so what we did was, I said, okay, we need a cover. So I just grabbed a book, a best-selling book, and in fact, a New York Times best-selling book, because I figured that's going to be the top of the line, and figure out what do we want to do. And so we created Modern Tantra Press, which is at the bottom right there of actually all my books now. This little symbol.
Okay.
So we're our own publishing company, and at some point I would probably take other authors on, right?
Right.
For right now. So we created the cover and the graphics. Actually, let me go really quickly, go grab one. And decided, yeah, we're doing this on our own. And kind of started doing it. And when we did the first one, of course, you're going to make mistakes, right? And I have to tell you, no matter how many times you proof a book, it seems like there's always typos. So this was our first cover.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But we didn't have a subtitle on it. So the second rendition, I don't know where that one is, has a subtitle. And we also didn't have an IBSN code, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got it out. And from there, it was like, okay, now what? So here's the deal with hybrid publisher versus self-publishing. A hybrid publisher will help you do, depending on what they say they'll help you do, right? So what are the pieces? Like you can almost like a la carte it, right? So do you need help with cover design? Do you need editing? Do you need proofing? Do you need this? Do you need that? Do you need the other? And they take a pretty good chunk. So this book, this is a 6x9 book, which is one of the standard sizes, right? Mm-hmm. And if I were to do this book again, I would probably do it in a 5x5 book, right? A little bit smaller. That's my new one. Mm-hmm. And the reason is it looks thicker. It's a little smaller, right? Mm-hmm. So this book cost me $6 to print, and I actually think I could get it done cheaper at a different printer, which I'm looking at now for my new book. But this book cost me $6, which means everything and anything beyond that is mine.
And you set your price.
I set my price. This book is sold for $18.95. Mm-hmm. I can put it on sale. I, created the ebook, which I do the launches with for 99 cents. And I am in control of everything. So distribution is interesting because when they say they distribute the book, they mean they put it on a list. They don't actually go and put it in bookstores.
Right.
These guys have a list. I mean, I'm on all the lists. This has been sold at Barnes & Noble. It's been sold at Amazon. It's been sold off my website. Right? So I live and die on, did I do the right thing? Did I do the right cover for my target market? Does it speak to them? Now, the book number 1. Learned a lot. It's easy nowadays. You have to find a graphic artist. We did this cover ourselves, and I really dig it. On book number 2, I found this graphic, and I had the guy redo this graphic just for me. So it's his graphic that he sells, but I had him recolor it and do specific for me. And it's kind of cool. It's got a lot of detail in it and the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so deciding on what font you want to use, where it is. I had somebody it's got cellophane on it, which is why it's. But formatting on the first book, my partner did in Word. Don't do that. Formatting on my second book, I hired a Fiverr to do it for $10.
That's the other thing. Fiverr makes the other thing so much like accessible.
Right. Oh my God. So then the cover, my partner put together in Photoshop based on all the specs that they need. And when they cut it, in retrospect, this should be lower. Yeah. So there's things, but we even did a little icon that to go to on our website to get a special gift. Like you look for that icon on our website and you'll get a special gift. It says,
oh.
So there was a little more things we did here, plus the website on the back. And so as we're learning, right?
Right.
This book costs, this book's a little bit, it's the same, no, this one's a 5x9. This one costs around the same, somewhere around six something dollars. It's got a glossy cover, so 680, I think. And it has sold, what do we sell this for? $19.97. I would lower both when I redo it. I'm rewriting this one, so this one is not in print right now. That's the other thing. When you have things that go wrong, I just upload a file to my printer and they put the new file in place. So when I go through and I see all my mistakes, this is my markup copy. I've got all these pages tagged. I make those changes on a PDF. I have my Fiverr who actually formatted my book, right? Both Kindle and the other book, I think, for $40.
Wow.
So this book, formatted, I wrote it, put it in Fast Pencil, which does chapters. It's easy for me to write in this thing called fastpencil.com. It has chapters and all this kind of stuff. So I wrote it, headed off there.
What's it called again? What's the
Fast Pencil.
Ah.
Okay. And it compiles the front matter and all sorts of things for you. So I got to preview it. I'd print out a preview and look and go, what do I think, blah, blah, blah. So then I sent it to her. We had a little conversation about font. She sent me a couple of samples of the beginning, right? And I'm like, no, yes. Okay, go with that. Formatted it. Took 2 days. Literally, I had it back in my hand in 2 days in format. The cover, I spent way too much money on this cover because inevitably, I hired somebody to design a cover for me, and then I didn't like it, and instead I went for I think it was $70, bought this graphic from a stock, from a royalty-free whatever.
Yep.
So I bought this. I really liked it. I had him put the words and everything where I wanted it. So I could have had this cover done as well for probably $15.
Wow.
The most expensive thing is the ISBN number, which you want to buy from an actual reputable place, not because if you buy it from you can buy them everywhere, and if they're not 125 or more, you're buying ones that have their own company as the publisher. This is the actual real international dude that, okay. So that's probably the most expensive part of self-publishing your book. Now, all this comes into saying, when you're hybrid publishing or self-publishing, or now anymore, even for the big deal, you have to have the market. You're the ones selling the book. Most people do not make a lot of money on their books. The books are not where they make their money. The book is the calling card for whatever else you're doing, right? So I also know how to make my books be a #1 bestseller. So the first book, I hired somebody for $2,000 to make this an international bestseller. The second book, did it myself. This one, I'm going to do myself too. Zero money. So that's what I would say about that. Now, I think that having somebody who's done a book before help you figure things out is important. Because I think, on our first book, I can look back now, and it's been revised like 4 different times. And there was a bunch of stuff that was old but it wasn't pertinent. And I went in and revised and took it out. So that's the nice thing, is that whenever I want a revision, I just make a revision, upload it. And so whatever the new people get the new ones. But I also had 7 of these original ones left because I ordered like 20 for that conference, which I just did a giveaway on for shipping. You know, first edition printing, complete with mistakes and all. And these things are pretty, some people love those. So that's kind of fun too.
Right.
The cover, they screwed the color cover up on this. And so now we're in negotiation of why it doesn't look exactly like the graphic.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm having them send me. So that's the other thing. I'm trying to schedule a book launch, but you don't schedule a book launch until you have your book in hand. It's completely perfect. And now you're ready to roll.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Wow. So already, like, whether it's with the publisher or Fivers, like I've seen Fivers that will do a book cover, but it's more like $200 or $300.
I've seen book covers everywhere from $5 to $200 or $300. And you know, the thing about a book cover, the truth of the matter is your book cover sells or doesn't sell your book.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. And so there's a big difference between a New York Times best-selling book cover and mine. Mine are not supposed to be. They're not mine. You know, I'm not going for the New York Times bestseller. You know, I'm writing books, I'm selling them on Amazon, I'm selling them on my website, I'm giving away. And so I don't need that much money spent on the cover.
Right.
Because if you're doing that, there's a lot that goes into it. And I'm doing the format of it though.
Mm-hmm.
I can look at a New York Times bestseller and decide what format that I want, you know, to follow.
Right.
So, you know, that's what I do. I open books up, and even in the inside stuff is all different depending on the book. Like, is there a blank page to start? Are the reviews first? Whatever. So you can take best-selling books and look in the inside and just duplicate that template.
Right. And so when I think about the whole distribution part, I know there's, you know, the ebook distribution, which.
But let me ask you this. What do they mean by distribution? That's the question I would want to know.
So with one in particular, so I'm looking at 2 different ones, right? So one said they get it on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and most online outlets, even though a specific list of what online outlets they're talking about is what I'm looking for, and it's still kind of ambiguous.
Okay, so all of my on-demand printers do the same thing.
Interesting. Okay.
I put my own book on Amazon.
And your formatting is, from what I understand, iBook has a different formatting, but everyone else would be the same formatting?
You can get a Fiverr to put it in any format I want.
Right. Okay. And then, so then the other side of it is, let's say if I wanted to do, because I have some travel set up for the summer, and so I was thinking, hey, I can do like a little book tour, you know, and it's not like I'm paying extra to travel because I have some travel that I have to do anyway.
You have to set that up no matter what.
And so what if it's like at local bookstores, how do they order the book? Do they have to order it through me in this case? Or I know the whole Ingram and what is it, Baker and Taylor, where they order their other books. So I wouldn't be listed in those resources.
I'm listed on all those.
That's the big piece that I was thinking that these print publishers, hybrid publishers could do that I couldn't do. So
yeah, I don't know that to be true. I mean, you know, like, so you can like Google, how do I get my, you know, book in on these things and find out. Most of the time it's calling them up, or it's having, you know, depending on how many they're in Amazon. But the best way to get your book in a bookstore is, you know, if it's a bestseller. But, you know, I've had clients take my book into the bookstore and they go up to the counter and say, I want to buy this book. And they look through it and they go, we don't have this book. We don't seem to have this book in-house. That's not our book.
Right.
It's like, well, I want to buy this book. How come you don't have it? But, you know, when I go to book tours, so you call, you know, if you're doing the one book tour I did, or the one book reading I did, it's not a tour, I called up and, arranged it. And then they ordered in X amount of copies.
But they ordered it with you or through one of those distributors?
Yeah, I think they ordered it through a distributor because they didn't order it through me.
Right. I think
I
that's,
could have brought in, I could have said, I can bring 15 copies with me and you'll make X amount of dollars. So you can negotiate anything.
Interesting. Okay. I think that's one of the pieces that when I looked at all of the different, like you said, you can go a la carte. When I looked at each of the a la carte, I'm like, I can do that. And I've been doing marketing for corporations for like 20 years. So I'm like, why would I pay somebody else to do that for me? So, okay, I can do that. Book cover. Okay. Yeah, I can do that. You know, things that I don't have the skill set to do, but have the eye for and know what I want, Fiverr.
Yeah.
But it was just like, if I want to, because I know this from marketing, if you want to sell something, if it's not available where people want to buy it, then that's going to limit how much you can sell. So I know the distribution was an important piece.
Yeah. Well, and that's why you have to ask what they mean by that. If they're just
Mm-hmm.
putting it on a list that a bookseller can buy from,
Pretty much.
well, what does that mean? Because then basically, unless people are clamoring for that book or it's a New York Times bestseller or it fits the niche they're looking for, they're not going to buy it. Why would you buy it?
And if it's getting on the list, which that's the part I didn't have the education on, is can I get on that list myself? Because I know that they're not, there's not like they have a sales rep going out selling my book to get, booksellers to buy it.
Right.
It's just on a list that people can click on, which I am still going to have to be the one that's, doing the footwork to get people to want to click on it and buy it.
Right.
I just wasn't sure if getting on that list was something that only a established publisher can actually do, or whatever that case may be.
Well, like I said, that's easy enough. You can say the Baker and Taylor. Is it Baker and Taylor?
I think so. And then Ingram was the biggest one, those two.
You can just go Google, how do I get on this list? And if it says only a licensed publishing house can do that, then there's your answer.
Right.
But has that stopped my books from being international bestsellers? They didn't become bestsellers because people bought them off that list. They became bestsellers because I marketed them in a period of time. And if you're looking to create a New York Times bestseller, then you have to sell 10,000. There's a 10,500. It's some weird number. A period of time. That's when it has to be, either you're marketing to your million list, right? And you're buying from outlets that are registered with the New York Times bestseller thing, right? So that they're, or you're a big enough cool person that the New York Times bestseller is actually giving you a special thing where your people buy. And that's what I think is happening with people like Brendan Bouchard and a lot of really big people now.
Right.
Used to be that your book had to be good. Now it's all about the numbers.
Yeah.
Whether it's an Amazon bestseller, because people will say to me, "Well, you're number one Amazon bestseller. That's not like being a New York Times bestseller." I'm like, right, in the sense that you have to sell more to be a New York Times bestseller, but you have to be the top book. Just the same thing. Both have to be the top book, the most sold in a period of time on either the New York Times bestseller algorithm or Amazon.
Right.
And both can be bought, meaning that if you have lists big enough and you know how to market it and you set up your book launch so everybody's buying them in this time frame, both can be bought these days. It's no different. More prestigious to have New York Times bestseller, of course, yes. But I'm not worried about the prestige.
Yeah.
That's just me. That just depends. One day I might have a book that I sync to that I head to a publisher. Given the fact that I have I have 3, 4, 5 bestsellers under my, belt between now and then, probably would help.
Yeah. In so many creative categories, that seems to be, whether it's music or movies or whatever, so many creative categories, that seems to be the way where people do their own thing, create their own following and demand, and then, studios or publishers or music labels come to them and say, hey, can you please sign with us?
Right, and that's because you have a market. You have a proven market, and you know that, you're a marketer. So I had a publishing house, small, probably more like a hybrid or a smaller, big for a small. The
Yeah.
publishing house approached me 2 years ago and asked me what project I was working on and would I be interested in going through them. And I kind of looked at it a little bit, and then I was like, why? Why? I'm splitting my money with them, and I don't know that they're going to bring anything more awesome to the table.
And you said it right there, like for what you'd have to give up, what is it that these other organizations can bring to the table?
Right.
And it's like, it's not a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah. If somebody's new and they really don't know anything and they're afraid of making the decisions and that type of stuff. And like I said, in 2009, I mean, there wasn't as much stuff going on like there is today.
Mm-hmm.
And today people have, there is a difference between putting out a crappy book and not a crappy book, even in self-publishing, right? There's a certain standard that you want your book to have. And so when you get your book in your hand, and like I got this cover, which is muted, it's got a yellow tinge to it, which it doesn't have in the graphic. It's saturated blue and you can see the stars, and this is silver and pops. I was like, I would never put this book out in public, right? So when I got it in my hand, I'm looking at it, I'm going, no. So I look at my second book now and I'm like, I would totally redo that. I'm looking at my first book now and I'm going, total redo. Okay, so that's okay, because I didn't spend, this book cost me $2,000 or $2,100 total because I spent $2,000 on a book launch, right?
Right.
Okay. I've recovered that, fine. So this book is profitable. But like I said, I would look at it now and just go, yeah, that's awesome for my first book, and yeah, I'm gonna redo that. And I can redo it, and I can redo it for barely anything. If I could edit in PDF or whatever, if I could edit in Acronym, I could do it myself. But it's so cheap to send it to my person that I love and say, hey, here's the revise these, thanks, send it back. And then I upload it to Revante, boom, done. And from what I understand, this new publisher I'm on print on demand I'm looking at is going to be half the price. This book, $6 something at my regular person, and I think it's called InstaSpark, or Ingram Spark, something like that. I think I saw that they said they were talking about $3.80 or $4.
Wow.
So I dropped this price as $13.97. So I dropped that price because, right?
Right.
Not I could drop that. So these are things that I'm learning all along the way. And I love that. I kind of love that process too.
And what's Revante? You said
Revante, Vervant, V-A-N-T.
Revante.
Revante is an print on demand company. That's the first company that I've used. And they've got great customer service. In fact, they're sending me 3 covers, just the covers. They're shipping them to me for me to look at which one I want after they've done tweaks and stuff on them, because I said, this is not working for me.
Right.
And so they respond right away. And so I'm getting the covers. The covers are in the mail. They sent me proofs to look at online, and now they're going to print them up and send them. And then I'll say yay or nay, and off we go.
Nice.
It is. Everything is so easy because they give you all the specs. Like you're like, oh, I don't know how big to make my spine. Well, you just it calculates it all for you. I've got 204 pages. It's a 5x5 by 8x5 book. Boom, spine needs to be yay big. So then the person that makes the cover, of course, they make them flat out.
Right.
In the dimensions that you need, right? So let's say you pay, depending on how much graphic design you do, you pay this book. So $70, let's say, for the graphic, right? $1,400 for the graphic artist. That's way too much. Shouldn't have paid, because I had him creating a custom one all for me that he drew.
Oh, wow.
So that's what paid. So if I hadn't paid him that, having him Photoshop this could have fivered that, right? So let's say $10 there. So that's $80. $80 total to have my formatted for this and Kindle. $5 to have a 3D cover, that I can put on my website. And that's it.
Wow. So when these hybrid publishers, I think the cheapest package I saw was $1,100 to $1,500, and they would. I mean, it was so funny because they include stuff like, oh, they'll do your book cover, and they'll get your what's it, the ISBN number, which if they're a publisher, they probably have a bunch of those anyway, right?
125, right? 125. Well, it depends which one they're getting you too, because you can get one for 25 or 35 bucks. But like I said, that makes them, if they're claiming publishing,
Mm-hmm.
they're your publisher, yeah, and they buy them for 25 bucks.
Otherwise, you yourself, when you go to buy it, it's $125.
I had a book of 10. I actually bought 10 because I am writing,
Mm-hmm.
continue to write. So yeah, they're cheaper in a book of 10, but
Okay. I think I saw that somewhere too.
yeah, $325 or something like that for 10, I think.
And then they would say, the whole distribution ebook thing and the formatting, and then distribution, and when you, for the ones that do the distribution, putting it on the list, literally they'll say they have it listed and available for booksellers to order, but they can't guarantee that they'll actually order it. And so it's all of these things of no guarantee. And I just comes like, what exactly am I paying for? And then on top of that, they continue to get a percentage. And I found one that, their royalty percentage is, the royalties that I would get are fairly high compared to other ones. But there are some, it's like if I sell the book for $16, I get like $2.
Mm-hmm. That's like regular publishing. Yeah.
I'm like, but what are you doing for me to give you that much money?
Right. Well, that's the question. And if you listed it out, if you didn't know what to do and they're going to make your cover, which, by the way, when they say make your cover, it isn't that you get to go, they maybe give you 2 revisions, or there's a template that they follow. And you get these choices. So it's not like you just get full creative license to do whatever you want and ask them to, I had them tweak this, try this, put that here, put this over here, try this here. No, I want it over there. It's like moving furniture.
Yeah.
I tweaked this thing. And finally I realized there was something really bothering me. And it got down to this detail. My name used to be further over here. And then I realized I wanted the D in a line with the G up here. And then all of a sudden everything came together for me. It was the weirdest thing because I kept looking at it going, what is about the bottom part is bugging me? And then I realized that. So that, where everything, how much space I wanted because of the void, it's about being in the void and all that. And, and then, tweaking the font and then the color and then, how do I want my reviews and whatever else. And it's like, yeah. Bold that, don't bold that, italic that, move that, change that, so really I got full creative license with all of it. Now, I don't know if it's a good book cover. We'll find out what people say. The people that I've shown it to so far are like, oh yeah, that's awesome. I would totally read that. As you stand looking into the void, it feels like facing death. And truthfully it is. It's the demise of an old and familiar path and the death of who you believed you are and were. Gaining personal freedom. People are going to read that. It's the first thing they're going to read. And so then it's like, okay, then they're going to read the back. Because it's like, hey, that's interesting. I wonder what the heck that's all about, right? So,
yep.
And that's what you want. So on the back, embark on a deep, raw, and breathtaking look into the transformations of 4 brave women devoted to their personal growth and healing as they set off on the most intimate journey of their lives, coming home to themselves. Do you feel it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see? Right. You're like, well, shut up, Ben. What are you going to do? You're probably going to read some of the reviews, right? Truly out of the box accounts of transformation, which are remarkable in their scathing honesty and juicy, untethered freedom.
I love that.
Right. So then, so we got these kick-ass reviews. So then maybe you're looking through, maybe you're just like, yeah, I'm buying that. So it's got to have that feel to it. If you trust yourself, or you have access to people that can help tweak it or whatever, then you're good. Mm-hmm. And the most important thing to remember is the reason I flipped out about this book, okay, even though it only took me 10 days to write it, it took me 2 weeks to start. And the reason is because I kept thinking, oh my God, I'm writing the book. And then somebody said to me, no, Tanya, it's just one book of many you're going to write. And then I was like, oh yeah, what the fuck? It's my first. right?
It's like the
Book.
pressure was off at that point.
It's your first book. Just write the damn thing, right?
Oh gosh. And you know what I love too, what you mentioned about, because things, when you think when you write a book, it's in print, it's done, it's static, it's never going to change.
Yeah,
But you as a person is going to change all the time.
yeah,
And you can go back and look at your books and say, I would do this different. And you can do that.
I
Well,
know.
with these other hybrid publishers, you get charged a fee if you want to change something after
Right.
it's been
Well,
published.
well, there's a good point too. Yeah. So like this one, my second book, um, I went back and forth on the whole like subtitle. One was the badass guide to the ultimate living, so I had all these different things, and there I can actually make I can actually make three different covers
Yeah.
and have those all available. You know, all
Which
like
from a
one thing without anybody charging me anything.
Right. Which from a marketing perspective is the smart thing to do, because it's like doing in-market testing to see
Which
which
one do they
cover
buy?
is gonna get the reaction you
Right.
want, which is what all the major studios. I remember I was telling someone I was in a mall once, and someone was doing market research and asked me and my daughter, she was little at the time, if we wanted to participate in this survey. And it was this Disney show that was it was on TV, and they were making DVDs of the show, and they had 4 different DVD covers created, and
Right.
they wanted our feedback on which one we would buy and what we felt about it and what each one actually brought forth for us. So even the big studios, it's like if they're making DVD covers, they don't just pick one and go with it. They
No, no, no,
test it.
no, no. They test everything. So this book, because this traumatized people, this is an it's the first part of it is about the first part of my life where I suffered abuse and rape and trauma. And apparently I'm such a great writer, I'm so graphic that people could barely get through.
Oh wow.
So what I decided to do was, I love the information, right? It's the people that got through, and then the last part of it is the 60 days of how to. So it actually leads you through a how to practice to change.
Right.
The first part shows you all the shit I went through. Second part is like, dude, look at me now. Like I'm telling you, I went through that shit. Look who I am. You can do it too. And that's what most people are like, oh my God, if you went through that and you're who you are, give me the damn book. But I decided because market research told me that it was too graphic, I'm going to rewrite it. And so this book will actually become 2 books. The back half, the how-tos, will go into my high-speed evolution book, which talks about my program. And the front part of the book I will be about me and some of my life, but not have as much how-to in it. And I'll take out some of the real gore. See? So I can do that. I can keep the cover for one, or I can scrap the cover, I can change it, I can do whatever I want. I just upload it and I'm done. Now, I will say, taking a book off of Amazon, once you put a book on Amazon, they do not want to take it off. Once you're an author and they've had your book, they do not want to take that book out of print. They do not want to take that book off your author's thing.
Huh.
They'll tell you that. They'll tell you that. They'll tell you that until you find the right person to take it off.
Oh wow.
So just know that. So there are people who are like, I don't like that book out there anymore, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, I can't get it off yet. And I totally got it off. It just I had to have some perseverance, talk to a lot of people.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm not there yet. I got to get it on there first.
Right. Getting it on there, you create an author account, Author Central, you upload your stuff, they put it on there. I'm not sure what the scary part of that is. They upload your Kindle, blah, blah, blah. There it is. You want to
do you use CreateSpace at all, or that
No.
would take the place? You do. So that's where you do the other print on demand services.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Vervante, like, because any print on demand is going to have the ability for anybody to buy it from anywhere, because otherwise they're going to lose a bunch of their sales.
Right.
They want to sell your book. That's how they make their money. So they're going to list you on every place they can list you. They're going to make it easy for people to buy. Now, there are some hoops here and there you have to jump through. Hang on, my UPS guy's coming. But probably another book for Max. I can't seem to get rid of him. Thank you. Got it. Oh, yeah, of course. For some reason, I just can't get him out of my life no matter what I do.
That's
Um,
crazy. Oh, that would drive me nuts.
so, um, so to me, it just makes sense if you have the confidence or you have a little bit of resources to spend. I mean, you gotta spend $1,100. $1,100 may not be bad for somebody to spend who doesn't have confidence, and needs other input. And are they going to give you for $1,100? Are you really going to get the best you can get?
No, I already could
Not
tell
even.
that.
Right. So I think the questions that you ask are, what do I, here's the list of things they're going to give me. And if I had to go pay for them, how much is it going to cost me?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can Fiverr yourself up to several $500 in an easy way, because just because somebody says they make a great cover doesn't mean they do.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather hire a graphic person to do what I want to do. How many, so I'm going to give you this graphic and I'm creating a book cover and I need your help and I want to have X amount of revisions. How many revisions can I have? How much does it cost per revision? And then getting very clear, in which case, I make a sketch, and I sketch out where I want everything and then send it. So if you're good at communication and you're good at being clear and when you're going down the wrong path, you just stop it and move on instead of trying to keep beating a dead horse.
Yep. So in terms of process, I think maybe last question. In terms of process, would you do the formatting first so that you know how many pages the book is at that size and then how thick the spine has to be before you get into having the book cover designed?
I didn't do that because they can tweak that pretty easily. So I knew the size that I wanted, which means you're going to, depending on what size is how much room you have to put everything.
Right.
I have way too much actually on that. And, it's less on here.
Mm-hmm.
And that depends too on what's in, like right now covers are cluttered. So I'm actually going anti-in. If you look at book covers right now, you go look at the New York Times bestselling, look at book covers, they're like crammed, they're covered. And I am doing the opposite.
Right.
Is that good? Is that stupid? It's probably stupid because usually what's in is in, but I tend to be the one that does something different. So I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once again, though, I'm not trying to necessarily get this book sold because of the cover. See, I'm very clear about what I'm doing. This book is for me to use for marketing. This book is for me to put out there because, and for my coaches, because all their 4 chapters are written by my coaches. Right. So they get this book, they can give it to their clients. They can sell this book. We can sell it on Amazon. I can go do a book tour, right? Things like that. So I'm not trying to make a living on this book. And this is what's really important. If you're going to be an author that wants to make a living, you want your book to sell enough books to pay for whatever, want to make a living off your book, then you better have the money to spend to hire somebody who guarantees that they can make all that happen. How it's formatted, what the cover looks like, what you say, right? Somebody can guarantee that they can make you a New York Times bestseller list when you use their process. That's worth, and you want to make that kind of money, like that's important. I want to sell 500,000 books. That's a different thing. So you have to know what it is you want to do with your book as well. I think that's very important. I have a friend who does covers for bestsellers, and she says, I better damn well like your cover because she's trying to give me input. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, it matters to me that my cover is professional, and it matters to me that I like my cover, and it matters to me that my cover doesn't look stupid or cheesy or dumb. And there are people whose covers definitely do that. But I don't need to meet her New York Times best-selling approval on my cover.
Right.
So you got to ask yourself those questions. Are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to, take the fall when it doesn't work out right? You want to do, but you can redo it. That's the point.
Yeah.
But that's what I love. Like, it's about me. And I'm not trying to make this my living. All my books pay for themselves easily because, If they're going to distribute, and by distributing, they can show you that authors who work with them, who get distributed by them, sell 50% more books or 100% more books or whatever, then there's something. But just to put you on a list.
No. Every last one of them have the fine print that they are not guaranteeing any sales, and the marketing and the sales is pretty much up to the author. So it's still going to be up to me regardless.
Right. That's what I mean. And that's why I'm a self-publish,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I do that. Because, and like I said, I started doing my own Modern Tantra Press just in case I actually wanted to start being a mini publisher to help other people publish their books. If I can make somebody else be a New York Times bestseller, if I can charge somebody $2,000 and make them be or an Amazon bestseller or whatever, and do all this stuff, then maybe. I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to get into that, but
Right.
I have the potential to do that.
So your process for becoming your own press, was that pretty much business license?
There I am. Yeah, pretty much. Right. I am my own publisher because I put it on my book that I am my own publisher.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I bought my own ISBN number that says that I'm the publisher.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not a mystery. Yeah. Some kind of, and I remember being interviewed by a guy who helps people learn how to write books. And he was like, oh, well, you're an international Amazon best-selling author, international, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, well, so how much consideration did you have to put into, this and this and this? And I said, man, I would love to sit here and sound super cool. I would love to sound super cool, and I would love to be all that special. But basically, I just know the steps necessary to make sure that, in a category, in a specific algorithm time, I'm the top book that's being sold. That's all. I was ahead of the Bible, and The Presence of Now, or Presence or something, and Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements. I have a picture, screenshots, where I am in front of them in the sales.
That's hilarious.
I loved it. I'm in front of the Bible. But it's not that hard these days. It's just not that hard. It's not. You just have to know stuff, and that's the thing. The difference between people that do it. You wrote a book. You've written it. That is kick ass, because most people never get to there. The rest of the stuff, is stuff.
And like you said, search engines are a great resource. You just ask a question in the search engine and find all kinds of resources to figure out how to do stuff.
Right. I do like Fast Pencil because it helps me move chapters and do things that I want, and it gives me a PDF at the end that I can send to somebody to format for me.
Mm-hmm.
If you really don't even want to pay for formatting, it formats for you. You can you literally use Fast Pencil to format and spit out a formatted copy. They can only give you a certain amount of templates, but they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. And so you can even do that. You can just do the whole thing in Fast Pencil and spit it out, and then get yourself a cover. And I'm sure they probably offer cover design, because everybody offers cover design.
Yeah. Okay, this is giving me more confidence. And that's all, like you said, it all comes down to that internal confidence. That, can I do this? And the first hurdle was writing the book, and then it's like there's this other hurdle of, what do I do from here? And it just started seeming like, why would I give money away, not only up front, but then when I learned that, oh wait, you continue to get a piece of it, but you're not doing anything else after this, after the first piece.
Yeah. I have no problem paying somebody to do stuff for me, right? That's not a problem. People pay expertise, but royalties, only to me if there's a clear advantage to that. Like Hay House, it'd be great to be published by Hay House, and the reality is, I could say they were my publisher. How much more would I sell because of that? Because if I make $6 on my book and I sell 100, yay, okay, great. I make $2 on my book and I sell $500,000. Well, geez, come on, which one am I going to take?
Right.
$500,000. Right, because I'm not dumb, But I think that you have to know the reason you're writing the book. And from that gives you how much money and really what you're going to be putting into the whole thing, right? Like if you want to be a New York Times bestseller, then you need to write a New York Times bestseller book, and you need to have the list and the numbers and the people to support all of that. If you want to write a book because you want to be a published author and you want to sell it on your website and you want to give it to your friends, or you want to do some book tours or whatever, then you can self-publish. You know, that's it. If they were saying that they're going to give you a contact to bookstores, and because they give you contact to bookstores, you are more assured a book tour, well, okay, you know, that could be worth it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do want to do, I'm thinking on this big road trip I want to take, you know, once we figure out where we're going to go and stuff like that, I'm going to call bookstores in the area.
Right.
To find out, hey, do you have an author night or whatever? Or come in and like, I got this new book. And then I can say it's an international #1 best-selling book, right? Because I've already launched it and done that. Then
Right.
I've got that creed. So that's why we do it. We really do it for that creed. To be able to say that. How many times can I say that? 2-time international best-selling #1 author. 3 times. That's all.
Well, I can tell you that the first book, which I didn't realize that was your first book, was one that I've read, and I have extracted quotes from that first book, and I have them up on index cards on my mirror, because
Awesome.
it was just like, holy shit, yes, that speaks to me. Like, yep, I need to hear that every day. Like,
shocking to find out I wrote that in 10 days.
Yes. I'm like, what the hell? It's still like literally these colorful little index cards I have all over my mirror of stuff
Well,
I pulled out of there.
I'm honored and I'm flattered. Thank you. I thank you for that.
Wow.
Sometimes having that under the gun and having having somebody else be accountable to, you know, helps, right? Because then we've got deadlines. Like for me, my coaches, I'm accountable to the people who wrote in here as well. I feel like I owe them this is why I did painstakingly go over the cover, and I want them to be proud. I want them to feel good when they hand this book to somebody, right? So that was really important to me. Probably I've spent more care and concern about how this whole thing looks than any of my other books that were just me. Right? Because I'm representing them as well. They're representing me. And that was a big deal to me. So I want them to feel proud. I want them to go, wow. So I want the caliber of it to be high. So for me, for myself, yeah, I want it to look good, but I probably didn't labor like I did over this. Every nuance, like I said, down to the, geez, like why does that just doesn't seem, oh yeah, slide it over. So those are, oh yeah, now the proportions are, you know, I wouldn't have done that. I probably would have said, yeah, that's good. So, you know, I am proud of you for getting it written. That is the hardest part. The second hardest part is the judgment.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've written the book and you get it out there, and, you know, Amazon reviews. So, you know, I've got reviews on Amazon for all my books, and you'll get the one person, you know, that gives you a crappy review. Yeah. This one guy said, yeah, you're nuts if you buy this book. And I mean, he was really trashing it. He was real, like, I was like, wow. And you have to remember that everybody has an opinion about what you've said. They agree with it, they don't agree with whatever, and it doesn't really matter. You know, it doesn't really matter. How many people think, you know, most people think my books are good. They've read them and they're like, wow, that's amazing. Ethne, my daughter, I published 2 of her sonnets in this book. And so she's now a published poet at 14, right? But they're good and they fit. Well, her English teacher, I took her in to show her English teacher, took this book. She doesn't know me, whatever. She knows my daughter. She read it overnight and she was like, oh my God, that is amazing. And that's cool. When you get that, you're like, of course, you feel awesome.
Right.
When you get somebody that's like, yeah, maybe it's a little simple, you know, it's a blah, blah, blah. You're kind of bummed out about it. But you got to let those ones just, if they have good constructive criticism, I go look.
Right.
But other than that, so don't worry about that part.
I mean, this book is so much about healing for me
Yeah.
that, I mean, at least at this point, I can say, because I haven't gotten the criticism yet, at least at this point, I can say it's not going to matter,
Right.
because giving birth to it will be such a milestone, such a, like, it's like all of the crap is finally
Right.
on paper and out of me and out of my head, and like it's not
So
swirling around.
you wrote it for you, and you wrote it to hopefully inspire or hope for other people.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Well, then that can't go wrong, because I mean, like, you wrote the book. It's about you, your story, your journey.
Yep.
If somebody else resonate, that's what my coaches, the chapters of my coaches in here, they wrote about going through my program,
Mm-hmm.
like to step into the void and what it was like to deprogram and stuff. And so I didn't change any of their writing. They're all wrote in different styles and different ways and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and raw and real, because that's where they are. So you can't go wrong with that. So I think the cover should reflect that feeling you have,
Mm-hmm.
right? It should carry on through. Like, make the cover reflect the words and the feeling of the book. And when you get that, when it comes through, you'll feel it. And that's why I ditched the first project. I had a whole idea how I wanted. I had him do it. I spent a lot of time. He spent a lot of time, and then I was like, you know what? This is just not. I'm just not getting the right vibe.
Yeah.
One thing I will tell you is I sent this book out for before it was the final draft was even done. I sent it to. I had 8 people review it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had them review it quick. Like, I had to tell them turn it around in like literally like 4 days. If you can't turn it around in 4 days, don't review it. And I wanted the reviews. I took the critiques. I had told them, be rough, be whatever. I want straight up honesty. Love it? Great. Hate it? Great. Hate it because of this? What? Did I have questions? Whatever.
Right.
And so be brave in that way. Get some people to read your book.
Yeah.
Also you can send out a chapter a piece to people who will proof and edit, which is always great too. Just send, say if you have like 5 or 6 people, I haven't many chapters your book is, but say, hey, I want to send you a chapter of my book. Will you just go through this document and highlight any typos you see and or mistakes and or things that aren't clear? And so that's a nice way to get some editing done that you don't really pay for. Plus, people usually are like, oh, it's cool, I get to read a chapter of your book. That's awesome.
Okay.
And then the people that you send the whole book to review, that's how I got my reviews, right? So now this is how I have my reviews on the book.
Okay.
These people read it. I sent it to, how many reviews did I take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got 6 reviews, and I've got a Sufi instructor. I have a hypnotherapist and counselor. I have a sales executive and graduate of my program. I've got a marriage and family therapist, a 5th Dan Aikido sensei, and a mom and artist. So
Nice.
2 men and 4 women, or 3 men, yeah. And so that's kind of a variety of people, right? And I think that's cool. 2 people that don't know nothing about me, or nothing about my courses. So when I wrote, does it make sense to them? How are they feeling? The person that had the most critique is actually somebody who's in a level 5 group of mine, which was funny because he goes, damn. He said, are you sure that people aren't going to be scared off by this? And I'm like, why? Because everybody's life is like totally just blown up. Except for the last coach who's still in their 30-something-year marriage, her life didn't blow up because she'd made the right decisions already.
Right.
So she was fine. Everybody else's life just got, but put back together at the end.
Right. Right.
So that's get somebody to get some reviews so you can have them for your book.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that before your final draft and before you format, because that's going to add to your formatting. And that helps your back cover too. You can have your back cover designed if you know what size book you want. 5x5, 5x5 or 8x5 or 6x9. Those are the 2 sizes that are the most common. And like I said there, what's interesting is that, okay, this is a 6x9 and so is this one. The discrepancy in this is kind of interesting. And these are by the same public, yeah, these are the same print on demand people. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that happens. And this one thing I would never do again is a red border around the outside, because cutting isn't always precise. So sometimes this is less than this, or this, this one's okay usually, but yeah. So you know what I'm saying? Things like that, things you will do that for the printer, just have a smooth one color edge going out.
Yep.
I thought I was going to do every book I had on black and white and red. Those were going to be my black, white, and red were going to be my things. But lo and behold. So,
as we say, people change.
Yeah, and if you're going to do a series, you should have covers that and your formatting that looks the same through your series. If you're literally going to do a series of books, and you would want the same formatting, so people go, oh, that's you know that if you look at a fiction author, their covers all look the same. Their name is in the same place, the thing is in the place, that it's got a cohesive to it. If you're going to write a series.
Part of my challenge is that I have 3 different types of book ideas.
Sure.
And so 2 of them, I have actually 4 book ideas, so at least. So 2 of them, one of them what I'm working on now, but they're both kind of healing, self-help, healing types of genres. Then, like I said, I've been doing marketing for 20-something years. I got a marketing book in me, which has nothing to do with self-healing. So
it doesn't have to. Yeah, totally. I would totally, it's just a different book. So those are not series anyway. It's not like you're a fiction writer and you're going to be writing a whole series of detective novels.
Right.
If you were going to write a whole series of healing books that small topics in healing books, then yeah, you might want to just change, there's ones that I have specifically that I bought, that one covers orange, it has the same, the title, the thing, the author, they all look the same, they're all the same size, but they're all just a different color.
Right.
So I have them all together, right? It's a series. Yeah. But when you're doing the things you're doing, like mine are not a series of books.
Right.
They're all about healing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not worried about that particular thing. As I don't have them broken down into this is the, maybe one day there'll be Tanya's Tantra series, and I'll take apart pieces and do that, and then I would do that.
Right. I just wondered, and it's probably not even that big of a deal, having something as personal as the book that I'm writing now that's really about healing and my personal story, and then to have a book that's around marketing. It's those are have nothing to do with each other, but it'd be the same author name. What would that look like if you search that on Amazon?
Well, it'll probably look like me on Amazon if you search me on Google. Business, get unstuck in life, love, and money, author, podcaster,
it's all part of you.
Business alchemist. Right. So, I have books to write on business and stuff like that. And so that'll just be and there it is. Right now, I'm going to be in 2 other people's books right now. So I've been asked to do a book project with this very, very fairly famous woman who will make hers a bestseller because she knows how to do that. The ebook. And, I had to write 800 to 1,000 words for her. And that was kind of interesting because that was written for, so then she got to critique that, right? And tell me, get rid of this, move that, whatever. Okay, fine, because it's for, her book. And then a friend of mine's writing a book on gaslighting, on narcissism, and writing a story, my story of that in there. So the one thing about writing personal books that's interesting is there is that moment when you realize that hundreds of people are holding something, and you've just described your mouth rape to hundreds of people and how you felt, or your attempted suicide, and people are having reactions. People are judging that. Everything from, oh my God, she tried to commit suicide, now their idea about me is different,
Mm-hmm.
to whoever might get off on the mouth rape, thing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just, or the people getting traumatized, or somebody saying, oh, she had an alcoholic father, or, I had somebody freak out because I rent my house. I had somebody actually,
Wait, what?
email me and say, when I found out you rented your house, my thoughts about you as a business person changed.
What?
This is an example. And I said, oh, really? Well, how's that? Well, because you rent your house. And I said, okay, so I rent my house, and what does that mean to you? Well, that means that obviously you can't afford to own a house. I said, oh, well, the first house I owned was back in 1997, was a 50-horse equestrian center where it was $750,000. That was my first residence when I was, what was I back then? 28, somewhere like that. Like, okay, that was my first house. And then I had another house, and then another house. And then I decided I don't actually want to own houses anymore. Then I decided instead, I'm going to rent a multi-million-dollar view for $1,200 a month. So now, I don't know about you, but I said, if you took a look at where I'm living, one of the top dudes at Microsoft just bought the house beside me over here for, $750,000, and he had to renovate the whole thing. So I don't know. I'm thinking it's pretty cool since I don't want to stay here forever.
Right.
But I pay $1,200 a month. They put a new roof on, put new floors in, do whatever. And I can walk away at any moment that I want to. In the meantime, living the beach style lifestyle where people pay to several $100s a night to have a cabin here. I don't know. So, and then she was like, oh, I never thought of it that way. So people will have all sorts of, when you reveal yourself, which is what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
people will think you're the most courageous person on the planet because they would never do that. To, oh my God, too much information, writing all this stuff, to being uncomfortable, to whatever. And the truth of the matter is, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Just, who cares? You have a story, you want to write it, you want to put it out there, do it. And if you decide one day you don't want it out there, you just take it out. Just be done with it. You don't have 25,000 books sitting in a warehouse somewhere that you have to do something with.
Yep.
Print on demand, one at a freaking time.
Yes.
All right. Cool?
Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully that clears some stuff up. Like I said, get some input just because it's good to have input to make sure that you were clear. You understand it when you're writing it.
Yep.
Did they really get it?
Right. Especially since it's my story. It's like whatever I didn't write, I'm filling in the gaps mentally anyway.
Right. And maybe you don't want, maybe that's fine. Maybe it's fine they don't get everything. That's fine too. Mine gives a broad overview. My new book is a broad overview of, my program and what is done. And then that's fine. They can read more about it. They can find out more about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It depends what kind of a book you're writing. You're writing a healing book on your journey. It's not about it. It all goes, whatever you want, however it wants to be. Grammatically correct? What the fuck is that? Who cares? I mean, if it's grammatically correct for you because it's how you talk.
Right.
That's how you then roll with it. Yeah, so much typos are kind of uncool. And I found several typos in this. And I'm quite sure if I sat down and read it again, I would find some more. So that's the other thing is get your first book, send it out to review. The reviewers should not be editing. If they want to add stuff, that's fine, but let them review. And get a couple of people, to check out a chapter and go over stuff. And then when you get your first copy, you can give it to a couple of people to check out, and then go through it yourself with that, reading each word and see. Take a week and see, and then have that revised and sent in. That's it. and then keep that marked up copy. That's always cool.
Mm-hmm. From when you finished a book or come near that final draft when you're sending it out, how long is your process then of kind of the editing, proofing, printing before you actually launch?
I actually have a group this book was in. So this book was started last year in July. And you know, the most tragic year of my life. This
Yeah.
book was written during the most tragic year of my life. My part of the book I wrote in about 6 weeks, and it took a long time because of all the shit going on. To get the other authors to write their stuff, yeah, took months because they weren't published authors. They were freaking out about writing.
Right.
So if it's just you, so from the time I had their stuff in and they had their addendums and they were ready to roll, I wrote my stuff and started working on the cover and stuff like that. It's been 6 weeks or, you know, a couple months, and there's been delays for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
If I was solely focused just on this and didn't have all the crazy stuff that had been going on, like I said, the other one, I wrote it in 10 days. We had the cover and formatting in 2 days, and I had the book in my hand. So from six weeks to write, or 10 days to write. So it was 6 weeks total.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cooking.
So, yeah, these don't, I don't, you know, when somebody says they've been writing their book for 5 years, I wonder what the hell. I don't know, you know, but that's not me. The second book, it took me, first book was 10 days. This book was 6 weeks. The cover took a little while to decide on. And then we futzed around with the cover on different things. I'm not sure why now, but this was probably, I think, 4 months. So think about that. Yeah. So.
That's still pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you just have to do it. Like you just do it. A lot of reasons to put it off and stuff. And if you're beginning writing, I tell people just choose to write an hour a week. Just, you know, schedule an hour a week that you write, and that's what you do. And that's better than, oh, I need 2 hours. And, you know, and I don't get to just write. I have to write in spurts too. I don't just get a solid time frame. That 10 days wasn't 10 days of writing.
Right.
That was 10 days of clients, 10 days of website stuff, 10 days of teaching and writing. So it wasn't split 10 days. Some people go away for a while to write so they can focus all their time on writing. That'd be great. I don't have no idea what that must look like.
What kind of life is that?
Yeah, people have that, and that's cool. I just have to write in between all the other stuff that I'm doing.
Right in between life. Yeah.
Yeah. Right? So.
All right.
Cool. And you can always check in with me. And thanks for letting this be interviewed and recorded, because I'm going to put it out. And it's going to help other people who are having this same decisions about books.
Absolutely. And it's a journey. And even this part of it is a part of the healing journey, not just the writing, but then, you know, the writing is like having the child, and then this part of it is like raising it, I guess. I don't know.
Presenting it to the world.
Yeah.
Now you've had your child, you're sequestered in your house. Now you want to go name and present your child. That's where the judgment happens. That's where the glory happens, and that's where it all happens, both all of it together. And that's okay. Do you have a title?
I do.
You want to share it?
It is a little controversial, but it is Fat, Black, and Unlovable. A story of healing and transformation.
Love it. Fat, Black, and Unlovable. A story of healing and transformation.
Yep.
Okay. And you're using what name are you using?
Barbara Pamplin.
All right. Real name out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Because I had thought about pen name, and I was like, nope, because this is this is
real. This is it. Yep. Well, I'm super excited. Thank you for sharing that. And I would love to do a follow-up interview when you've got all your stuff and you're ready to launch or whatever, and so that I can help support your book and your journey. I look forward to promoting it. certainly, and letting people know about it too. So,
Oh, I'm gonna ask you to be a reviewer.
well, I am honored. That is super exciting. Thank you
I
so
already have. I was like, okay, Tanya.
much. That is awesome. Thank you. I'll be totally, totally, as long, and you know me, so I know when you're asking me, you're asking for straight up.
Yes, exactly.
Right. She is fearless, people. She is fearless because she knows me.
I have no time to like dilly dally and bullshit with life. I gotta get to the real stuff.
There you go. There you go. All right. That's awesome. Well, thanks so much, Barbara. And looking
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing your book. And I'm looking forward to launching mine and
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that too.
all the other things that we have going on.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you. Have a good day.